yo, Jim, man, won't you kick some of that, you know?
Riders on the storm. Riders on the storm.
What's up, you guys? It's Mike here. Hey, look, I want to do a video today about something that probably kept me out of a lot of trouble between the ages of 18 and, well, heck, 25 now. And that's buying a car. First of all, let me say, hey, I'm sorry I haven't made a video in like the last 10 days, okay? It's not because I'm being lazy, well, maybe partially, but actually I was at an interrogation and interview class, which is like part of our detective training program, and out of town for a little while, and so I wasn't making a video or any videos. I haven't forgotten about you. This is gonna be the latest installment in the new Path to the Middle Class video series that I'm doing. So, buying a car. Why is it important to get this right, okay? Now, there's a couple different schools of thought on it, but it's important because it can keep you from getting into bad debt or being ladled with a burden that you won't be able to handle at especially a young age when your income is going to be down and your experience is going to be low. So let's talk about it. There's a couple of different things you could do. You could buy a new car, right? Anybody can go down to a car lot and say, hey, you know, I want to buy a new car. And if you have a job, a reasonable job that's working full time, you'll probably, provided you don't have any other debts, maybe at the age of 18, be able to buy that new car. I spend a lot of time at the gym, I work out, I also play soccer all the time, and I can't tell you how many different military guys, you know, they're 18, 19, 20 years old, and they roll up in their brand new Challenger, they roll up in their brand new Charger, 2018 black, tinted windows, slightly illegal, but I never write them for the tint violation because that's just not classy. And they roll up with that car, and you say to yourself, man, these young guys are out here buying these cars, and I don't blame them. Believe me, I don't blame you. You just got your first job, you're working full time, you signed your contract with the military or whatever else, you're guaranteed approval on your loans because you've got guaranteed income provided you aren't stupid and get in trouble. It's hard to resist the urge to go out and buy that new car. I don't blame you. I would love to have a nice car. I grew up playing Need for Speed Underground and Need for Speed Underground 2 and Most Wanted, and making custom-made cars was all I ever wanted to do. I get it, but you have to keep in mind that if anything happens to your job, if anything happens in your life, you are now stuck with this monstrous car payment that you cannot get away from. And that is why it's very dangerous to do the new car routine. Okay, I have a good friend of mine went into the medical field, and medical field makes a lot of money, but he was just a CNA, right? Making like 15, 16 bucks an hour. And he bought himself a brand new, probably at the time like 2014 Honda Civic, like $20,000 car. And then he crashed it. He rear-ended somebody. And all of a sudden, his car's value is gone. He has to get a new car. He's stuck with all his debt, so he's had to move from one car to the next over and over and over again, struggling to pay off that debt, struggling to get back on top of his finances when it comes to a vehicle. So yes, one thing you could do is buy a new car. I'm against it, definitely until you've made it, until you're really financially successful. And what that is to you may be different than it is to me, but personally, I have never bought a new car. And I could go out and pay cash for one right now, but I choose not to. The other option would be to buy a used car. Okay, so maybe you make the decision, you know what, a new car, it's out of my budget, it's not a smart idea, something could happen, the value of this car is gonna drop catastrophically as soon as I drive it off the lot. Anyways, everybody's heard that before. Maybe you say to yourself, I'm gonna buy a used car. And I'm not against buying a used car and buying it on credit, essentially taking a loan out for it. But again, what I did when I purchased a used car was I had about $7,000 or $8,000 in the bank. Saved a lot of money, $7,000 or $8,000 in the bank. And I said, I'm gonna go buy a car that's about 4,000 bucks. And if I need to, I can pay it off 100% at any time. No problem, I can just pay it off. If something happens, if I lose my job, if I'm in any type of trouble, I will not have debts looming on the horizon that I have to pay at the end of the month when I have no job or if I'm injured and can't work. Remember, I used to do construction. If you get hurt, well, you can't do the job. Probably wouldn't have fired me, but I might have been out for a few months, 6 months, depending on the injury. So I went and I bought myself a $4,000 car, but made sure that I had the money set aside, not gonna touch it in case I needed to pay it off. And this was actually a good thing for me. It was a beneficial thing for me because I'm able to build credit, which if you haven't watched some of my other videos on building credit and credit cards and things like that, please go ahead, guys. Please check them out. Again, Millenialmike's the YouTube channel. Look for some of those videos. Building credit is important. This is a good opportunity for you to build credit. Car payment, a couple $100 a month, somewhat reasonable, shouldn't be that difficult for you to do. And so I don't discourage purchasing used cars provided you have the money set aside to pay it off in the event of an emergency and you don't go above and beyond and buy something ridiculously expensive. Okay, if you can afford something ridiculously expensive, you're probably already ready to buy that new car. Anyway, next option, leasing a car. I'm not against leasing a car if you are the kind of person who has to have that new car. Again, I really preach delayed gratification. I'm in my 20s. Between the ages of 18 and 35, you feel like you're just getting older than time itself. I feel every day when I wake up at 27 years old, I'm like, oh man, my back. Oh, I played too much soccer. Oh, my legs. I'm just old as dirt. But realistically, between 18 and 35, you are a young person. You are not old. Sacrificing some of these years of your life, delaying the gratification, not as many parties, not as many weekends, not so much booze. I don't drink at all. I recommend you save some money, figure out how to have fun cheaper, delaying that gratification and putting it off until your late 30s and your 40s and your 50s and your 60s. You will probably be happier in the long run. That's at least what I think and feel. And I'm not saying don't have any fun, don't ever go on a vacation. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying be smart about it, okay? Leasing a car, to get back on topic. Leasing a car, if you want that new car, if you want that nice car, leasing a car is not a bad option. It's a shorter contract. You're not gonna get into a 5-year contract. You can get into 12 months or 24-month leasing options. Reasonable payment. If you don't like the car, if something happens to the car, you can get rid of it, get something new. You may have to have some sort of buyout. Leasing a car is not a terrible option. Really not gonna help your credit. Not like buying a car would, but you know, and there's gonna be other restrictions, how much you can drive, how far you can drive, all these other different types of things that are gonna be difficult. So leasing a car may be right for you, it may not be right for you. Now I'm gonna talk lastly about the way that I have purchased cars. For the last 10 years, the way I purchase cars is to stay out of debt, not be in any financial trouble, and never ever have to worry. Okay, so I remember probably 6 or 7 years ago, the friend I mentioned earlier who bought that new car, I had a debate with him. And he was looking at me and his argument was, hey, I have a new car, it's reliable, it's good, I'm never gonna have to replace it, I'm never gonna have to repair it, I'll never have any problems with it. My argument back to him was, what if you lose your job? What if you get injured? What if you get in a crash? What if something happens to it? What if it gets stolen? And now you can't afford it, but you still are responsible for paying for it. So, you know, if nothing bad happens, or if you have no financial setbacks, buying that new car, you know, does sound like a good idea. But you can't ever plan for the unknowns, right? You just have to take into account Murphy's Law. If something bad can happen, it's probably going to happen, especially if you're looking at a long period of time, 18 to 25, and how long is your car loan for? 5 years? 5 years, you're never gonna run into any type of financial problem. Let me tell you the amount of times my bank account has dipped below 0 in the last 5 years, okay? I've had some struggles, and I'm sure you have too. Everybody has, so don't set yourself up for failure, in my opinion. How do I buy cars? What I do, and I've done it for years now, I go on Craigslist. I find myself a $800 to $1,500 piece of crap. It's not a lady getter. I don't rely on my car to get the ladies. Ladies, if you're out there and you're interested, hit me. I'm just kidding. No, but the car, I understand for some people, it's the social status, whatever, you know, it's the symbol. I get it. I get it. It's not for me, how I choose to flaunt or show off or whatever it is. I buy kind of a piece of crap. I've owned 3 different Geo Metros, which if you know anything about a Geo Metro, I want you to imagine for a second the last car you got in a Happy Meal from McDonald's. Now blow it up to full-size scale, and that's what a Geo Metro looks like. It's made of plastic, and if you get in a crash in it, you'll probably die, but you won't feel anything because you'll be dead instantly. So I mean, there's perks, right? I've owned 3 Geo Metros, a Toyota Corolla, a Subaru Outback, and all of these cars purchased between $800 to $1,500, and I paid cash completely out of pocket. Now I understand maybe you don't have $800 saved, maybe you don't have $1,500 saved. But that is a number that's low enough. You should be able to get to it within a couple of months. So ride that bus, stack the money aside and get it saved and go buy it cash. Now, what are the problems? It's more likely to break down. There's no warranties. There could be problems with it. How do I know I'm getting a good vehicle? Now, hear me out here. Most of the time, a car payment, an average car payment, is going to be somewhere between $200 to $400 a month with full coverage insurance, because that car company is going to want to make sure the bank or whoever loans you the money is going to want to make sure their investment is protected with full coverage insurance. So your insurance rate's going to go up probably 100%. You're probably going to pay twice as much as if you just had liability insurance, which is what I have because I drive a piece of crap I don't care about fixing. So what happens when my car dies? Well, if it dies, I buy another one for $800 to $1,500. And what I've found consistently now doing this about 6 different times over the last 10 years, and I usually have 2 cars at a time, is that my vehicles last me anywhere from, a year to 4 years, right? 1 year to 4 years, okay? So if you think about your $200 to $400 car payment, okay, within the first 6 months, you've spent either $1,200 or $2,400 just in making car payments on that new car or even that used car. You purchased that car that I would purchase, the $800 to $1,500 car, and yeah, you pay a little bit more up front, but if that thing can just last you 6 months, you've already saved money than you would have making car payments here. But if your car can just live for 6 months, you will have saved money because that $200 to $400 payment, month 1, month 2, month 3 is going to equal $1,200 or $2,400 after just a few months. You'll have paid way more for that car you got on a loan. And most of these cars that I'm buying, you should still test drive. Most of these cars I'm buying, I'm finding are lasting me 1 to 4 years. The one I have now, sitting out there, my Geo, I've had for 4 years. I spent like $800 on it. That is a very cheap cost if you break that down by month, let me tell you what. So guys, again, I understand if you want a car that looks nice, that looks good. If you're not comfortable driving that Toyota Corolla, that Ford Focus, that Ford Escort, that Ford Taurus, that Geo Metro, and any other car you can think of that's just a hunk of junk. That old 90s Civic, yeah, they're not beautiful. They're not gorgeous. They get the job done. I don't have a car payment each month, which is really, really nice. Or when I have purchased a car for like $4,000, used car, my car payment's maybe $200 and I'm only gonna have it for 1 year. Or maybe like $120 and I'll have it for 2 years. This is how I buy cars to make sure that I don't essentially lock myself into a bad situation. I strongly recommend you consider it because one of the biggest problems that young people do is we just incur a lot of debt. And then we spend the first 3 years of our adult lives, maybe 4, taking on tons of debt. And then we spend the next 15 years of our adult lives trying so hard to get out of debt. You're gonna get student loans, you're gonna get your car loan, you're gonna get your first credit cards and get credit card debt. And we make dumb purchases, jewelry, watches. A friend of mine bought like thousands of dollars worth of furniture on credit. All these things that you should avoid now so that you can actually save now and utilize your income earning capabilities to put the money aside, delay that gratification, bear with me, delay that gratification, stack it aside, invest it intelligently, sacrifice a few years of your life with the nice things, and then enjoy the benefits of that sacrifice for years and years and years to come down the road. Guys, I really appreciate you watching. I hope that this video was helpful to you. I've really never actually heard this topic talked about a lot, at least not the way that I buy cars. I've heard people talk about new, used, or leasing. But what I do with cars to save money and always have a vehicle, never really heard it described before. Please leave your comments down below. Let me know if you do anything similar, if you have any advice to share with the people who watch this. And we'll catch you next time, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching.